Pleased to welcome in my next guest, the Congressman from the 3rd District of the state of Mississippi, Michael Guest, joining us from our nation's capital this morning. Mr. Congressman, good morning to you.
Good morning, Richard. Great to talk to you, particularly in light of the Republicans' big win on the diamond last night. Most people probably don't follow congressional baseball, but the Republicans won last night for the 6th year in a row, defeating the Democrats 11-2, and more importantly, raising $3 million for charity. So a charity baseball game they hold every year. They've done it since 1909. Republicans are on a winning streak. We hope to continue that next year. If Mark Teixeira is elected from the great state of Texas, we would love to have a former MLB All-Star playing on the diamond for the Republicans. But great night last night to be able to come together to raise money for a good cause. And that $3 million will be distributed among various charities across our nation's capital.
I'm assuming the Republicans' uniforms were red, white, and blue, and that Democrats were not?
We were mainly red, generally red versus blue. But we had the American flag, USA, on the jerseys. So very patriotic jerseys to show our support for the entire country.
I will admit to you that had flown under the radar with me. I'm thankful that it did not get as much coverage as it did a few years ago when Congressman Scalise was shot during that. Certainly a scary time. What position did you play?
You know, I was watching from the stands. I figured it was, with my athletic talent or lack thereof, it was probably be better for me to be in the stands rooting on my fellow Republicans.
Who is the best baseball player currently in the Republican caucus, absent Mark Teixeira joining the group a year from now?
I would say August Pfluger is from the great state of Texas, former Air Force grad. He and Greg Stubbe from Florida, I would say they're 1A, 1B. So both of them have a pretty good bit of athletic skills still left in some aging bodies, but both of them played well. And so, again, a good night for charity. I know most people were probably watching the Knicks and Spurs last night. They weren't tuned in to congressional baseball, but a couple of good sporting events that were taking place across the country last night.
I don't know if that's televised or not. I'd love to get on the announcing gig for that. That'd be fun.
Well, Chad Pergram from Fox News actually does some of the announcing for that, so he's able to throw in some political commentary with that. But look, we'd love to get you up. So I know you love sports, you love politics, a combination of both. So, I'm going to talk to Super Talk and see if next year y'all can't come up and you can be broadcasting live from that stadium.
We could see about securing the radio rights for the Congressional Baseball Game. I like that. Congressman Michael Guest is my guest. I talked with Mike Ezell a few weeks ago, and I said, outside looking in, there is some frustration with this Congress and with Republicans even, because it feels like nothing is getting done. Can you tell me if it's any different? And he said, no, I really can't. He said, it feels to us like nothing's getting done a lot of the time. Is that changing at all kind of post-early summer recess?
I think there's always a frustration, Richard, that things aren't being done quick enough, that we're not moving fast enough. But look, things are being done. If you look at what we've done this Congress, and when I say done, I can only talk about what's happening in the House. When things get to the Senate, their rules are different, their procedures are different. It often takes things much longer for legislation that comes out of the House to get to the Senate. But we've passed things that are important to the American public. We've passed the Save America Act, and we have sent that to the Senate. We passed the Farm Bill, extremely important to Mississippi. If you look at agriculture is our number one industry in Mississippi, directly or indirectly employs over 20% of our state's population. We were able to get a farm bill passed out of the House. I serve on the Appropriations Committee. We have been able to, out of committee, pass 11 of 12 appropriations bills. The final appropriations bill that must come out of committee will come out of committee after we get back next week. But we've passed 11, and the Senate has passed none. And so if you look at that, we've also had the markup for the National Defense Authorization Act, another key piece of legislation that we have to pass every year to fund our military. And so we are working. We're working extremely hard. I'll tell you, Richard, this week I had a markup 2 nights ago where I did not get out of the markup until 1:30 a.m. And then last night we had to go back to markup after the Congressional Baseball Game, and I was 12:45 walking out of markup, and that's 12:45 a.m. Just want to make sure that listeners understand when I'm talking about walking out at 1:30 or 12:45. That's 1:30 a.m. and not p.m. And so, look, we are working. We're working extremely hard. We're working against opposition. The Democrats are not making it easy on Republicans. And with a 3-seat majority, they are going to do everything they can to try to torpedo the agenda of the president and the Republican agenda. So a lot of times we have to work twice as hard to overcome the opposition that we face each and every day.
Significant news earlier this week: the funding bill for ICE and Border Patrol, Homeland Security gets to the president's desk. He signs that yesterday. There were some question marks, and there were some speed bumps and hurdles at the end, particularly around the added security features to the ballroom and this defense fund that the president talked about. How hard was it to set those aside to get the important funding piece to the finish line?
You know, the bill was negotiated in the Senate, so those negotiations were happening in the Senate between the administration, Senate Republicans, and Senate Democrats. You know, we used the reconciliation process, which allows us to then get around the filibuster in the Senate. Their rules generally on most pieces of legislation require a 60-vote majority to begin and to close debate. And so by using the reconciliation process, we were able to narrow that vote count to 50. The Senate was able to work out those differences. That some of that funding came out, and others there were agreements by the White House not to go forward with some of the additional requests that they had originally made. Look, but that was important, and it was important because we've seen the Democrats really do all that they can to impede federal law enforcement and our first responders. We had the longest complete government shutdown in government history last fall, where the government as a whole was closed for 43 days. Then at the end of the year, we were able to reach an agreement to pass 11 of the 12 funding bills. The bill we could not reach agreement on was Homeland Security. Later, there was an agreement to come back and to fund Homeland Security except CBP and ICE. And so what this bill did is this was advanced funding for CBP and ICE through FY 2029. So this takes away the Democrats' ability to use that to try to force concessions from the Republicans going forward. And look, this is important because, look, we've got FIFA World Cup, which begins this week. We've got America 250. We've got the Olympics, which will be held in 2028. We've got, so much that we are looking at, these special events that don't happen every day. It's important that we be fully staffed. And so while it was difficult, again, to get that bill across the finish line, it was the right thing to do. And the American public is going to be much safer because we have now fully funded CBP and ICE, again, through 2029. So we don't have to worry about this coming back being a recurring fight with the Democrats, them trying to use this to force concessions from the White House.
We got a break coming up in just a moment. You got time to hang with us for a few more minutes?
Would love to.
All right. But before we do that, I really want to set this up because I feel like it may take you a little longer to answer. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, the job that he has, I feel like, at least outside looking in, is Herculean. A tiny majority, and it feels like on every single vote that comes along, he's having to thread the needle and in some case placate people within his own party to get them to vote, make deals constantly. Can you maybe just give me 30 seconds and we can pick it up on the other side of the break about the job that he's doing and maybe the way that he's doing his job?
Yeah, and you framed it up extremely well. He has a very difficult job with a very narrow majority, 3-seat majority right now. Look, I tell everybody, I think Mike Johnson has the worst job in not only Washington, but in all of America. And you are exactly right. He has to deal with very difficult issues, very narrow majority. He has to deal with people who are in extremely conservative districts. He has to deal with other members who are in districts that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris carried last election cycle. So he has his work cut out for him. But happy to expound more after the break.
That sounds great. Michael Guest, Congressman representing the 3rd District here in Mississippi, is my guest. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk Mississippi. We're back with you after this. Congressman, we got to have you on a Wednesday at some point. Wednesday is our Country and Western Day, and that seems to be the most popular bump music day. But when Lance rolls out something like the Jeffersons, it's not all bad on any day.
No, man, going old school with the Jeffersons. So moving on up, yeah.
Michael Guest is my guest this morning. He is one of our congressmen, part of the Mississippi delegation, represents the 3rd District. We were talking about the Speaker, Mike Johnson, before the break, and one of the things that I was thinking about was the position of whip, especially majority whip, is one that has been glamorized a bit through the years, television shows, whether you're talking about House of Cards or West Wing or any of the other political shows that have come along. I know it's a position that still exists. Is it a position that still has the ability to operate the way traditionally it has? And does Mike Johnson have a whip that he can rely on?
He does. Tom Emmer is whip of the Republican conference. Tom does a great job. He has a deputy whip, Guy Rushenthaler from Pennsylvania. And so, really their job is not to force people to vote one way or the other. Their job is to gather the information as where members are on certain pieces of legislation and then pass that up to the leader and the speaker. And so each week we are generally whipped on one major piece of legislation. This week it was on the reconciliation bill to fund CBP and ICE. And members have a chance then to weigh in at where they are on that legislation. If there are issues with the legislation, that is an opportunity to bring that up to leadership so that they can find a path forward. But ultimately, the floor action is not controlled by the whip. It's controlled by the speaker and the leader. So Steve Scalise, Mike Johnson, two of our Louisiana neighbors, they're the ones that are making those decisions. But a lot of times they're basing it on the information that they get from the whip. And so it is still an important position, and particularly in a narrow majority. You look, a 3-seat majority and a body of 435. It's important for leadership to know on these key votes where every member stands, because, look, all it takes are 1 or 2 Republican members to decide that there's something in the bill they don't like. If they vote with the Democrats, then we're not able to get that piece of legislation across the floor. And we see, look, sometimes votes have been held open for extended period of time. Most votes are 5-minute votes, but we've had votes that have been held open for well in excess of an hour as leadership is trying to work, as they're trying to massage the members to get their support for key pieces of legislation. Again, particularly things that the president is pushing for.
What about FISA? I know that's something that people are talking about. The president has asked at least for a temporary extension of FISA laws to be in place. You mentioned a moment ago the World Cup. We have a lot of international visitors that are either here or on their way for World Cup matches over the next few weeks. We hope those are all well-intended people that just want to wear the jersey of their favorite team and be in stadiums and cheering. But we also know that the bad guys are looking for any opportunity that exists. Where is that?
So just to kind of give a little background on FISA for those that may not be aware, FISA stands for the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, put in place after the attacks on 9/11. It allows our intelligence services to gather information against non-American citizens who are not located physically within the United States. And so there are some guardrails to protect American citizens from being targeted and to protect individuals who are visiting the country once they enter the country from having their data collected. It is a data collection in which we are able to, and I say we as a country are able to collect crucial information as it relates to telecommunication records, bank records, other records that help us hopefully be able to see a bigger picture that may be developing. FISA has to be renewed, reauthorized. We are currently seeing that FISA will go dark at midnight tomorrow night. So if Congress doesn't act, the House and Senate does not do something, then FISA goes dark and we lose that very critical intelligence gathering mechanism that are relied upon by our intelligence services, a lot of three-letter agencies, as well as by federal law enforcement. The House will be voting today for a temporary extension of FISA. We are voting under what's known as a suspension, which means it requires 2/3 of the members to be to support that legislation for it to pass. The Democrats have said publicly that they will not support an extension of FISA. They are upset about the president's appointment as his director of national intelligence. A guy by the name of Bill Poultry is the individual that the president has tapped. The Democrats don't like that, and so they are threatening to let FISA go dark unless the president changes who he wishes to head that agency. So we're looking at what could be a very hopefully not, but could be a situation to where we don't have the intelligence that we need as we have these crucial events coming forward. FIFA World Cup and America 250. Now is not the time that we want to lose that intelligence gathering mechanism. So we've got to find a way, like we have on so many of these other bills, to thread that needle, Richard, to get Republicans and Democrats on board for the good of the country.
Am I a conspiracy theorist if I think the CIA and the NSA and other three-letter agencies, as you referred to them, will figure out a way to work around this regardless of what happens?
You know, there have been talks that the president may issue an executive order that would allow them to continue to collect that information. That is something that is being discussed at the White House. You know, but it really needs to be something that Congress approves legislatively. It provides not only those agencies the authority, but it also provides these telecommunications and other groups that are complying with those three-letters agencies, the protection from liability. And so, you know, that's one of the concerns is, take a big telecommunications company like AT&T. Law expires, FISA goes dark. They basically tell them we're no longer complying. We're not going to give that information for fear of lawsuits coming down the road. And so that's why it is important, one, to give them the authority, but two, the liability protection from those agencies that will be cooperating with the government.
Is the resurfacing and the repair of the reflecting pool the most overblown story in recent history in D.C., or is there a reason that we should be up in arms about that?
No, look, the reflection pool was repaired under President Obama. It was repaired again under President Trump. Look, we were able to repair it at a lesser cost under Trump than we were under Obama. But look, we've got a lot of bigger issues to focus on. There's a lot of things going on across the country, a lot of things going on across the globe. And for that to be, something that we see talked about regularly on the national news, I think is extremely overblown. So let me bring up one thing, Richard, just because I want to make sure. So last week when I was here, myself and my team, we got to go visit some of our National Guardsmen from the 204 Air Defense Artillery Regiment. They are based in D.C. They have been here for roughly 11 months, and they are protecting the skies over Washington, D.C. And so about once every 4 years, these National Guardsmen, they fall into this very important mission And so we had a chance to go by to thank them for their service, to thank them for how they are representing our country. But I think it is such an incredible story that Mississippi National Guard, that we have individuals that every 4 years come to Washington, D.C. They protect the skies of Washington to see that we don't have another 9/11 type event. In addition to those guardsmen, we have guardsmen who are up here who are providing security protection, police protection, particularly in the days leading up to America 250. So I think that's something that we should be proud of, something that back home we should be talking about more. That we have these young men, these young women who have joined first the military, who are willing to serve, and that they are so trusted by the military that they are allowed to perform some of the most critical missions that the military performs day in and day out. And so we wanted to go and just say thank you to those guardsmen. One of the things that we look and we try to do when those guardsmen are here is we try to find a night where we can get as many of those guardsmen as possible to come to the U.S. Capitol, give them a tour of the Capitol, personally thank them. You know, if you think about it, a lot of those young men and women, they've never been to Washington before. This is their first time in D.C. And so not only are they here performing a great service for us and for the country, but we want to make sure that that is a very memorable experience and that we thank them for all that they do.
Glad you mentioned that. That was the last thing I was going to bring up, so we were on the same wavelength there. I appreciate you sharing that with us. Appreciate your time. It's always too short, but great to catch up with you this morning. And if we don't talk again, happy 4th of July. Happy Independence Day to you and your family and to all the great folks across Mississippi. Thank you, Congressman.
Thanks, Richard.